I sneeze, I'll try to sneeze more friendly.
Hi, I'm John Malos, and welcome to this edition of Connect with Me, live on the showroom floor at Ventura TV. Glad to have you along on this Friday morning and live on Comcast Channel 187 and 43.6. Today, we're going to be talking about the underground tunnels in Old Chinatown, right here in the city of Fresno. Ever been under there? Well, I hadn't until the other day. 436-ME-TV is the telephone number. Remember, don't wade through all those recordings. Hit option 11 ASAP. Back in just a moment.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
And welcome back to the program. Glad to have you along here on this Friday morning. And before we get into our program, I just want to mention a program note. We're going to have Dennis Hart, formerly of KMJ, here on Monday, talking about the ever presence of Measure G, the measure that simply won't go away. We all know what happened here the last couple of days. They stopped the counting on Thursday, then they started the counting back up, and they're trying to verify the signatures. And the yes side, they're trying to file a temporary restraining order in court to stop the counting, to stop the verification, because they weren't happy with the process. But Brandy Orth, the Fresno County Registrar, is saying, hey, we're doing everything according to state election laws here. We always have, we always will. So what's the problemo? We'll talk to Dennis, and maybe even George Hostetter from the Fresno Bee will join us as well. That's Monday's show. I can't wait for that one. And we might know more, a lot more, by Monday as to what's happening with our favorite Measure G. Anyway, the underground tunnels, that is our broadcast today. And you know, you've heard the old saying, if the walls could talk, oh my goodness, the old cliche certainly fits the underground tunnels in Chinatown here in the city of Fresno. Let's go to the videotape. I'll show you exactly what I am talking about. There's your video. On Tuesday, I had the great opportunity to tour those underground tunnels for the very first time. I joined about a dozen other people here, as you can see, from the grand jury. They also made their way down there. The history of Chinatown and the tunnels, boy, they date back, way back, more than 100 years. Why don't you try the mid-1860s, why don't you? And back then, just about every ethnic group around called Chinatown home, mostly because they were not allowed in any other part of Fresno. These tunnels, which most believe span about 2 miles underground, were originally built as underground storage units and as a way to get from one place to another without ever going above ground. Shops and stores and other businesses were actually built on top of those tunnels. Amazing to see that. The Danish, as I understand, helped build the tunnels. But yes, my friends, yes, these walls have seen it all for more than 100 years. You're talking police raids, you're talking fire checks, you're talking, yes, prostitution, gambling, and all the rest. The early settlers denied that some of these tunnels even existed. Today, we have two experts in the studio. They are here live in our studio right now. Jeremy Brownstein, the board chair for the Chinatown Revitalization Project, and also our favorite, Kathy Omachi. I just love her. She has so much knowledge here. She is also on the board, and I'm glad they both took time out of their busy schedule today here to join us. And you know, we'd appreciate it if you'd call in. 436-ME-TV, hit option 11. Don't hesitate. Don't wade through that recording. Just hit 11 immediately. We'll put you on the air. Back with our program in just a momento.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer. And now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean Dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
And we're back here on Connect with Me on this Friday morning. Man, you better brace yourselves. It's going to be hot. Well, you know, you do the same thing as you did yesterday and the day before. You stay indoors, you drink plenty of fluids, and you watch a movie on Netflix or something, or watch us here on Me TV, whatever the case may be, right? Stay cool.
Stay cool. That's
All right. Kathy Omachi, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Jeremy, it's a pleasure. I met you for the first time the other day. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. So, the underground tunnels, they've been around much longer than we have.
Well, a little bit longer than my family's been in California, right, in Fresno.
Yeah. You know, I right off the bat, I want to play this interview that I found on YouTube. It's very interesting. I want to play it for both of you. Go ahead and take a look and a listen as we roll it right now.
You know, there's a lot of these basements down here was they call them like brothels and prostitution dens, and a lot of prostitutes used to sleep down here. They were actually kidnapped from China as mail-order brides and were never allowed to escape. A lot of people used to get lost in the tunnels and never be seen again. That's why people say, I think we're going to walk by the alley where people can hear lost souls still screaming for help. One time we brought like a medium person who could kind of hear voices or see the dead, and he walked past that building without knowing any history behind it. And well, the lady that I was with, she said that she could hear, you know, voices trapped down there. They need to be released. A lot of these prostitutes, you know, they were tricked into coming into Fresno, sort of like a mail order bride type of thing from China. They'd get to Fresno and they'd have their whole life stripped from them.
All right. Is this myth, legend, truth? What is it?
Well, for the past history, some of it was accurate and some of it was not accurate. That many of the women that came thought that they were going to be housekeepers, nannies, maids, and then they were presented with a bill that they had to work off once they got to the United States or once they got to California.
Now, who was that gentleman on that videotape? Because I didn't recognize him. I found it on YouTube. I found it astounding, to be honest with you, and I wanted to play it to see what you thought. Jeremy, who is that gentleman? Do you guys know him?
Morgan Dozaki.
Okay.
His family actually owns Central Fish, and he's a previous board member and board president of the Fresno Revitalization Inc. profit.
All right. There is a lot of history down there. I want to take you down there to the underground tunnels. We all went on Tuesday afternoon. You were kind enough to lead the way down there, lead the charge, so to speak, and give us a history lesson. Let's roll the videotape, and we take you underground to the tunnels in Chinatown. You can see it up there, but you can also see it on that monitor there. Go ahead and comment, if you will. Let's start with you, Kathy, about, you know, we're seeing an old underground, you know, ladder there, but there's all sorts of artifacts down underground there in the tunnels, right?
Yes, that's a part that's very disheartening now, is that the tunnels or the basement areas, people that are from out of the area are buying the buildings, removing the artifacts.
Now, see, right there, that leads to the street. If you point, I think I point the camera up,
correct.
Right? Is that correct?
Correct.
That's like a stairwell that goes up to the street?
Yes, or to the building that's right above it.
Okay.
Part of Chinatown, every single building that you see on the top surface has a matching basement and tunnel connecting system to it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was expecting, you know, to see, to be quite frank with you, I was expecting to see like rats down there, maybe other things. I didn't see any of that down there, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, some of the property owners have cleaned up, such as the one we were able to go into. But I mean, there's a lot of tunnels. There's a lot of areas that we haven't even been able to go down into that we're not even sure what we'll be able to find. We already have a nice collection of artifacts, dishware, suitcases, everything you can imagine. We have a pretty large collection, so there's a lot still to be uncovered.
How much do you have? Do you have enough to like open a museum, maybe?
And yeah, actually, that's something we're pursuing right now with one of our properties that we have in Chinatown, is to open a small gallery and rotate a lot of these artifacts, a lot of these pieces, a lot of the history that we've collected and that we continue to collect. I get phone calls almost every other week from individuals who say, my father was a worker in Chinatown, my father had a business there, and I want to just donate these things.
Kathy, I want to play another piece of video, the outside of Chinatown. We all know what it looks like down there. It's by Chancey Park, but I took this shot specifically right there. That's looking down Kern Street. And as I zoom in down Kern Street there is Chick-Chancey Park. And the reason I'm showing this is because I heard you tell a story the other day on Tuesday down there about, was it left field or right field? Had to do with Chick-Chancey Park.
It's right field.
Okay, tell the story here if you can.
Well, there are two documented stories of when the city of Fresno first cut through one of the tunnels and then filled it in with concrete and ran the storm drain. The other one is that one of the construction firms actually couldn't figure out why the water was draining when they were building Chick-Chancey Park, and they dug down and there was a huge cavern under there, and a car that was on sort of a pathway roadway that was headed toward Chinatown in a tunnel. 24 hours later, the city of Fresno filled it in with concrete, slurry, and it's right field. So it was never investigated.
So it's there still in right field, right? It's there in right field, but it's covered up.
It's covered up.
And we can never get to it unless we dig, right?
Would you like to help me?
No,
I'll take a shovel.
I really wouldn't. Not especially this weekend. It's going to be 109.
That's right.
But that's part of the history of Chinatown. In other words, I guess I'm trying to show an example as to how far those tunnels go. That's amazing.
There are some stories of tunnels going from the mall under the railroad tracks into Chinatown and out of Chinatown into the mall. In fact, one of the buildings that has the immigration department, the guy who was working on it showed us the basement. He said, and that's one of the tunnel doors going into Chinatown. So it's kind of a worst kept secret in the valley.
And you hear these stories, you see it in person, and you wonder what's the potential in something like this for Fresno, for the Central Valley, for the state. It's something very unique when we talk about downtown revitalization. Imagine what this could do for our downtown.
It's a historic site. It should be a landmark. I don't know if it already is, but these tunnels really tell the history of Fresno in a lot of ways.
Right, because there are about 11 different communities, ethnic communities that call Chinatown home from the 1860s. African American, Armenian, Basque, Chinese, Japanese, Italian, Portuguese, Mexican Americans, Germans from Volga, Russia, Greek, and Filipino communities. And that's one of the only areas in the valley where people lived and worked next to each other.
So when they all came, they came to Chinatown because they weren't allowed to live in other parts of the city, right?
That's about it.
And they all coexisted there in the 1860s, 70s, 80s.
Up until the time when most of the buildings were devastated, which was probably about 1950s, 1960s.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. We should be proud of our history here in the city of Fresno, and those tunnels tell a lot. It's not just negative, there's a lot of positive there, and we need to restore those and show them off to the world. We're here with Kathy Omachi and Jerry Brownstein. They're both from the board chair from the Chinatown Revitalization Project. 436-ME-TV, hit option 11 quickly, don't wait. Back with more of our program in just a moment.
Sunday night.
Let's move.
A perfect night for crime. A perfect night for me.
You've got to help me.
Me TV, that is. With detectives.
My name is Gunn.
Fugitives.
I didn't kill her.
Guns. Surly.
This is the Twilight Zone.
And much, much more.
You'll go along with that, won't you?
Sunday Night Noir. Starting at 10, 9 Central on Me TV.
Okay, so I blew the name. Sue me. No, I'm kidding. We're just joking here. It's Jeremy Brownstein. He's the board chair, of course, for the Chinatown Revitalization Project. Glad to have him along with Kathy Omachi. And you've been around here a long time, Kathy. You've seen a lot of things. Should this be restored as a historical landmark? I want to roll the videotape as you're talking about that because we have more underground video. As we hear you talk, we're going to be looking at some. Look at the piping down here. Look how old and corroded some of this stuff is here.
Part of it, we're not actually looking for something to be preserved, but what we're just asking is the community support, media support, just like yours. You've always been a good friend to us. Is that we can't keep ignoring that this is part of the history. When we were talking before that this is a family show, that's exactly what Chinatown is. It's
a family community is what it is.
It's what you could do to let kids know that are growing up is that the word that when people are talking about diversity, it's not a new word for Fresno, that it's always been here, but that there is not really the political will to help us save it. And right now it's coming down to saving it. All of this will probably be gone. Just gone, probably within the next 5 years.
Why?
Part of the difficulty is political will or lack of interest in helping us to document the stories that people have. We are working now with a professor at Fresno State to actually document the stories of people from West Fresno and Chinatown on just the community aspect of it, the stories that they have, and it's all part and parcels of for the younger folks to know who they are and where they've come from.
Okay, ready to take a call here?
Absolutely.
Let's take it. Might as well. Good morning. You're on Connect with Me. How are you?
Yeah, hi, John.
Hey, good
Listen,
morning.
To Kathy and Jeremy. Let's see. Is this like a tour? Once you get it set up, is this going to be a tour and there's going to be a charge to enter it? That's the first question. And the second question, how much do you leave in it to make it authentic looking or as is? Do you leave it as is, kind of clean it up a little bit? And I think those are the two questions I have. And where's the money coming from? How I think you mentioned it, but I probably went over my head. And those are some of the questions. And thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So that's 3 questions. I forgot all 3 of them already.
One is the tours.
Yeah.
We'd like to start that up again, and this has all been on a volunteer basis with our organization. We have made 0 to just a little bit of money on people donating.
Yeah.
The other one is that actually it's not an issue of cleaning up because of just
You want to preserve, don't you?
just the nature of what it looked like, and particularly where there was the crib area that was one of the, I guess you'd say, area of ill repute, that you get a sense of what some of the women went through.
What did they go through, in your opinion, from what you can gather from history?
In one
Fact.
of the rooms,
I mean, I want fact. I don't want like myth and legend. You know what I mean?
Well, one of the maps that the city has is the fire map, the Burns map, and it indicates a particular area that we went to take a look at that is basically a, sort of a square room that at one time had a skylight. But when people turn off the flashlights, that room is totally dark, totally enclosed, and it was a room, each one was paneled off, so there was a room for a cot, a table, and a lamp. And the women that were down there, that had to work down there, were there for about 16 to maybe 16 hours a day, waiting for a customer, and that was day in and day out while they tried to pay off their steerage and their the bills that they had been presented.
Let's take a quick call here, Kathy, and we'll continue that conversation. Good morning, you're on Connect with Me. How are you? Oops, they weren't patient enough. Anyway, you know, you got to be patient around here. You know, we're talking here, having a conversation, so we will take your call, no doubt about it. So that was part of the lore, part of the history of those underground tunnels. I want to roll some more videotape here. We'll take a look at a stairwell, one of the stairwells at least from the other day. And you know, it's dark down there. We were down there with flashlights. There were virtually no lighting down there. So all the video that you see here, ladies and gentlemen, was taken via flashlight and, of course, video camera. And actually, that's why it's so dark and kind of grainy. But this is what it looks like down there, Kathy and Jeremy. Yeah.
And that's the part that is just amazing to me. My family came to California and Fresno about 1900. So my grandfather was part of the crew that rebuilt the Buddhist temple. But they all had stories about, in fact, there are folks that are my age that have stories of being able to go down in their family's business, run from one end of Chinatown to the other one, pop up, and then run back through the other side. So it's not really... because you have some people with folks to say that it doesn't exist, and then, but it does.
The older generation, they kind of denied that those tunnels even existed, huh? They didn't want it known around the community.
Well, some of them, one of the biggest deniers of the base that it's there is part of the city of Fresno, which is just interesting. That we find that, in particular when they covered up 2 of the most viable evidences that we have the tunnels to complete the stadium.
Yeah, that stadium sits over part of the tunnels.
Yes. And
Yeah.
part of the high-speed rail will be going over another portion of the tunnel system.
Yeah, that's a sad part of it.
You know,
but,
to segue too,
yeah, go
looking
ahead.
at these tunnels, I mean, we see a lot of history, we see a lot of dust, we see a lot of dirt. But the reality is that we have a lot of strong businesses that have been in Chinatown for 20, 30 years.
Thriving businesses.
That are thriving.
Yeah, I know.
One of a kind in the valley.
Let's take this call real quick here before we lose it again. Good morning, you're on Connect with Me. How are you? Sorry, go ahead.
But building on that, you know, what we're trying to do is build an awareness. Most people hear Chinatown, they think San Francisco. They don't even know that there exists a Chinatown in Fresno. So we've built FresnoChinatown.com, which redirects to our
See, that's
Facebook.
the thing. People don't know that we
Absolutely.
had a Chinatown.
Yeah.
Either had or have a Chinatown. We have a Chinatown now.
And the tunnels are just one attraction. We have the Azteca Theater that is just immaculate. It's amazing in there. We have the Japanese Buddhist temple.
Right. I got to go to break, but we're going to come back. We'll talk about what you think you may want to happen down in Chinatown. Talk about some of the other businesses there, too. 436-MEET-TV. Be patient. When you hear us, hit option 11 immediately, and you'll get in the show. Back in just a moment.
Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're the save energy, save time, save money place. The Energy Star qualified, ready, steam equipped, high efficiency Frigidaire affinity place. You heard right. Right now, save big on select Frigidaire laundry pairs and pay no interest when paid in full within 6 months. At the hometown low price, think outside the big box place. Since 1951, Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're working hard to be your place.
And we're back here on Connect with Me talking about the Chinatown underground tunnels. We do have a call. I hope we don't lose this one again. Good morning. You're on Connect with Me. How are you? Hello?
Hello?
Hello. You're on the air. Go ahead, quickly.
Yes, I was just amused at what you guys were talking about with the under the tunnel in Chinatown.
Yeah, go ahead.
My mother used to work at the Patio, La Fiesta, all over Chinatown in the bars. And I never knew that they had the underground thing. How come they don't have a bank to have a bank for it?
Okay, ma'am, you got to turn your TV down, okay? Turn your television down. Hello?
A bank for people to donate funds.
Okay, let's turn it off. Go ahead and turn her off. Sorry about that. I have to let you go because you've got to turn the sound down on your television if you're going to call in, because you're listening to yourself on the television and you're trying to listen to us. It's just not going to work. I apologize for that. If you want to call back and ask your question, turn that sound off. Anyway, so to answer her question, I don't even know what the question was. She just had a comment. She didn't even know the tunnels were there.
Well, it's great that I think I recognize her voice because she was saying that her mom had worked at La Fiesta, which was one of the wonderful bars in Fresno Chinatown. The thing is that we have wonderful businesses that some of them have been there. One has almost been 100 years. Another one was Aki's Hardware that was over 100 years. But we also had lots of bars that were not managed well, but we had the highest number of liquor licenses in the area.
Okay, let's take this call one more time. Good morning, you're on Connect with Me. Turn down the sound on your TV, okay?
Okay.
Turn it down.
Yeah, during that time, the Chinatown tunnel, my father was around back in the 30s. He used to tell me that there was a lot of corruption going there from city officials. They used to prop uptown to Chinatown, to do illegal acts from different areas. But it's a good thing to bring out how the real truth was about the tunnels.
Okay. I guess he was talking about a lot of the illegal activity that was going on there.
Oh, yeah.
And,
there was.
There was, yeah. We all know that. We're not trying to hide that.
No,
I mean,
there's a great story that Sal Quintero from City Council had said that when he was running around with his other friends from Malaga, that they said, "Oh, you've got to ride over because they're demolishing some of the buildings." He remembers going there, and the big metal ball, was knocking down a wall, and he said it looked like it was a rainbow. It was blue, red, and white, and that was shining. They looked, and there were little opium bottles that had been tucked in the wall. And he said, but it was glorious.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, it probably was.
Good morning. You're on Connect with Me. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good, good. What's your quick question here? Hurry, because we're running out of time.
I want to say hi to Kathy and that.
Oh, okay.
Hi.
Hi, this is Bob Lutz. You remember me?
Yes, yes. Thank you for calling, Bob.
I'm glad to see something is going forward that's really exciting. I still have that layout for Chinatown myself.
Thank you, Bob. Bob's been a wonderful friend in helping preserve the different stories. And like the woman whose mother was at Fiesta, the stories, the families, the connections are there. It's not that we want to hide. It's that we need to pull people together, and I think Jeremy has some great ideas on that one, so that we can become a priority with the city of Fresno and with the state of California.
Why aren't you a priority right now? Why? Money? It all comes down to money, right?
Money, and that we're considered a blighted area that some folks would like us to see disappear completely.
Why? Why? It's a part of Fresno's history.
Good question. That's a good question to ask.
What would you like to see happen? I want you to chime in here, Jeremy.
I think the city of Fresno should take a leadership role in working with our community to reestablish our history and to promote the businesses that are there through redevelopment.
And what should they do with the tunnels?
I think the tunnels are an ample opportunity for Fresno to develop, to create a safe
tourist.
A tourist attraction.
For tourism.
All right. Another
Absolutely.
call here. Good morning. You're on Connect with Me. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, I wanted to.
You got to turn down the sound on your television, please.
Okay.
Turn down the sound and speak directly in the phone.
I wanted to say thank you for revitalizing the downtown, the Chinatown.
Okay.
Because it's a really good thing. Because I always go down there and have lunch down there, and it's really nice, and I really like what they're doing to it downtown.
Okay, we can barely hear you, ma'am. We're gonna have to let you go because we're running out of time. But we appreciate your comment. See, you got a lot of people calling in today, and I don't mean to be rude. And if it comes off that way, I apologize. But anybody that calls in, we appreciate your phone calls very much here on Connect with Me, and I know our guests do too. But please, ladies and gentlemen, you have to turn down the sound on your TV, or we're going to get terrible feedback. We won't be able to hear you, and you're not going to be able to concentrate on what you're saying. So anyway, a lot of interest in this. We're getting a lot of calls. So we're helping promote Chinatown a little bit here on this program, and what may or may not be done with the Chinatown itself and those tunnels.
Well, that's one of the things that we're looking at with Jeremy as being our new board chair. It's the succession of new blood to the area, and like the woman was saying about avenues for donations or for other tours, and that really goes to Jeremy as being one of our new board members and our board chair.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So at this point, I'm trying to promote.
How can the city get involved? Do they need to pour money into Chinatown?
I think they just need to take a leadership role and set priority and bring us to the table. I mean, a lot of the downtown revitalization discussions.
Chinatown's not even a part of it.
No, and actually on numerous occasions, I've been told by individuals that Chinatown, in the city's eyes, doesn't exist in their vision of revitalizing
Name
downtown.
some names on the council, like who?
I can't name names, but
darn.
Of my social circle of friends, that's what I've heard. So
well, we need to lambaste these people here a little bit, because Chinatown's a part of our history. Those ethnic groups that you were talking about all came together. And you talk about ethnic diversity. It started in the 1860s here in Fresno.
Definitely. And kept
People
on.
need to know that.
Mm-hmm.
And we still celebrate that diversity today.
I know.
The first Saturday of March each year, we're going on our 14th year of the Chinese New Year's Parade, which is a huge festival that we celebrate the diversity of Chinatown.
Okay, 30 seconds. Hey, let's roll the video just one more time, real quick, that last piece of video, and you can talk about this store and who owns it real quick, Kathy, because we got 30 seconds. This store is owned by who?
This store is owned by Lynn Ikeda Yada, and it's called Kogetsudo. And Kogetsudo is the only shop of its kind in the valley. It's handmade Japanese pastry. And it's the only one of its kind between Sacramento and Los Angeles. And
she's third generation. Her grandfather opened that shop in 1920, I believe.
Correct. It's just about 100 years old.
And for more information on Chinatown, FresnoChinatown.com.
Okay, got to go. Out of time. We're going to cut us off.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Come back,
Appreciate
okay?
it.
Definitely.
Come back, Jeremy
Absolutely.
and Kathy.
Hopefully
That's going to do it For us, have a great weekend. Stay cool. Dennis Hart and George Hofstetter Monday. Measure G. Have a great weekend.